right, so EU lets 2 more insects crawl into kitchens. The EU is doing it a little bit differently than the US. They are apparently approving applications for more insects. This is probably the softest article of tonight because we're going to be covering a ton of really bad stuff. I'll try to warn you before tonight's show gets really rough for those that are easily panicked and don't like scary movies, because it is a whole lot all at once right now. The maggot-like larvae of lesser mealworms, a type of shiny black beetle, and house crickets will become the 3rd and 4th insects that can be sold as food for people in the European Union. 8 more applications await approval, so they're going to be adding even more bugs. It says on Tuesday, the EU gave the green light to the sale of larvae in powder, frozen, paste, and dried forms. The crickets can be sold as partially defatted powder. For many Europeans, as the thought of eating creatures that wriggle or crawl in any form isn't exactly appealing. But insects, already a delicacy in high-end restaurants around the world, are a normal and healthy part of diets in countries from Mexico to Thailand. They have also captured the attention of scientists and businesses looking to clean up farming and feed the planet's growing population. Basically, it's probably a way better bottom line and way easier to make, and they can make Hot Pockets out of it. This is absolutely disgusting, and this is where we're headed. So stick around. We're going to talk about this and much, much more tonight on tonight's episode of Marfoogle News. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, and a quick word from our sponsor, Noble Gold. Noble Gold Investments is pleased to let you know that gold is the best investment class for 2022. Through all of our record-breaking inflation rates, crashing market, crypto scams, there is the one asset that held its own, gold. According to long-term trends.net, gold has actually outperformed the S&P 500, Dow, and Bitcoin for 2022. Now that we are in 2023, had you invested in the S&P 500 a year ago, you would be down more than 20%. If you invested in Bitcoin a year ago, you would be down more than 65%. If you had invested in a Dow a year ago, you'd be down almost 10%. Yes, gold has outperformed them all in 2022, and silver is not far behind. Yes, while the world is busy hauling other assets as the real hedge, gold and silver are the only assets that would have protected your wealth. So join the thousands of others by opening a gold IRA or silver IRA with Noble Gold Investments, and get in before the end of this month and you'll bag a free 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualified IRA of $50,000 or more. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments and their thousands of 5-star reviews. Again, that is the coin that you will be getting if you qualify with a IRA of $50,000 or more. All right, let's get back into the show. We have tons and tons to go over. Remember, you can also sign up for our email alerts and notifications directly from us. If you are new here, my name is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight, we're going to go over a lot of news and a ton of the current events that are happening right now. So remember, you can always go over to our website for a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. When you go to our website, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. You'll just look for In Our Backyard Within Range. Once you click on that, you'll find that you are brought to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, and the source for it. That way, if we say something, you don't have to guess and do 3 hours of research to find out where we're getting the information. Again, last night there was some stuff that was claimed, and honestly, it was I believe it was true. But the problem is it was very hard to find the actual sources for it. So I know that a lot of people yesterday were frustrated trying to find out and confirm what was going on with this Russian ship off of the coast of the East Coast. Now, again, there's a chance that it's not, but basically it's looking for multiple sources that this thing is right off of our East Coast and within range. So we'll talk about that more. But remember, at the very bottom of our website, you can go over down to the yellow bar. That is overflow or web content, all the stuff that cannot fit into a 2-hour time period. Now, the 2-hour time period, of course, is a lot for everybody. If you want a short shareable video, make sure to go subscribe to Marfoogle News, our main channel, and then also the short shareable content all goes there. So if you want kind of the big stories of today and want to share that with your friends and family, go over there, and that is a much more consumable bite-size video over there. All right, let's go into the news. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's talk about, well, first of all, the insects thing is just gross, but at the same time, I don't think people realize how this is actually something that I don't think people realize that this is not a great thing. This is something where something is about to change. People can tell that many things are changing around us, but they do it, I guess, incrementally. Dex, what do you think about them obviously trying to get rid of meat? The richest, elitist people in the world are buying up farmland for some reason. And then, of course, now they are putting these crickets and insects on the table. A lot of people say, oh, I'll never eat it. But when they start putting it in our favorite food, it's kind of impossible not to.
It keeps bringing back the movie that I saw. I think it's called Snowpiercer, where they're riding around in this train, and the people in the back are eating like these, pucks of food that are just made out of, probably all sorts of bugs and other things that they just manufactured. And that's just what I'm envisioning. I'm just thinking this is just not something that I want to eat. I think it's, I'm sure they've got all these ideas about how it can be better for the environment, or maybe it's even healthier for you. But it just seems to me like it's a way to feed a lot of people something that is probably a lot cheaper. And I feel like it's going to end up being something that the rest of us are sort of stuck with, because we're not going to be able to afford to eat what the elites will be eating, which is fancy steaks and real meat, while we're stuck eating bug bars that are processed out of a machine.
Well, think about how you actually make people eat this. And by the way, when a business and a corporation, which the corporations are directly running this country through the pockets of politicians, when you actually look at it, you think, well, okay, they have scientists that have come up with this way to make, insects taste like meat, right? Well, they found that, and I bet you at a board meeting, they were like, oh, well, how can we do this instead of this? It's like, 10 cents to the dollar. This is way cheaper to do. Our bottom line would be astronomical. We could make Hot Pockets for a penny. How can we do this instead of what we're doing now? Well, people won't eat insects, and, the FDA and all of these people, they won't allow us to put insects in it. Well, you pay the right people, you start passing laws and start getting this and done. You make people eat it. And guess what? You also, at the same time, pay other parts to say, hey, we're outlawing this. Oh, because of this big other reason, we want to outlaw meat. We want to outlaw this. We want to outlaw that. When really they're just trying to force the hand into this much, much cheaper and higher dollar thing. Think about it. If Hot Pockets, I'm just using it as an example because people keep saying that could be the replacement meat for products like that and pepperoni and all these other things, and even taco meat and stuff like that. If you think about it, if you have something like that, which costs $5 a box for 2 of them, if they don't reduce that price, inflation, everybody just accepts it. Oh, it's inflation. Well, that's what they cost now. They don't lower that price, but then all of a sudden, instead of $2 for the pepperoni or the meat sauce that they produce, it's now 4 cents, and it's made out of insects. What do you think that they're going to want to do? And do you think that they're going to lower the price for the insect meat processed, substitute? No, they're not. So I think it might be about money, but it's also about this agenda of switching everything over and making it. It's all about control. And by the way, the elites are not going to be eating Hot Pockets. Also, they want to limit the amount of meat that we eat by the year 2030, or at least that's what was said by our president, talking about 8 ounces of steak per person per month. So if you did eat a steak, not only would it be astronomically, priced by then, but it would also be like a bottle of champagne. Most people, even though they're limited to 8 ounces, and that again includes hamburger, everything, Yeah, and this is what they want to be at in the future. It would be such a luxury item that probably people wouldn't be eating it in the first place. Or there's another option here, which is there's a disaster coming that nobody knows about yet and that they're not telling the public, which I definitely believe that they would lie to us up until the very last second, and they're trying to get things set up for this to be, something that everybody can make and eat and whatever, or getting people used to it because maybe we won't have other things to eat soon. Who knows? But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to thank your mods by going and giving them a sub. Make sure to go over and check out their channels. That we have all sorts of great people down there. Again, DLive was down and it is up now. So welcome DLive, welcome everybody else, and thank you all the mods that are keeping it a peaceful place down in the chat. All right, and then make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Not only will you find all of our great mods, but you'll also find all of our friends and creators that we think that are awesome people or we personally vouch for. All right, and then ex-Twitter workers tell FTC engineers can access God Mode program and post from any account. Well, kind of no duh. Dex, this seems like anybody would think, of course you can. But what does that mean? Does that mean they could say they could post something from somebody's account and then ban them and use that as an excuse to ban them or to even deplatform them? Couldn't that be an option?
It certainly could. But what we saw was in that security breach, remember back in 2020, where some of the high profile accounts were making all these tweets. And really what happened was somebody had compromised the system through social engineering and got in and basically used this, what they call behind the scenes at Twitter, God Mode, and was making posts against all of these, not as all of these different profiles that it was trying to impersonate. So this, you would think that would go away or it would be fixed, but apparently they're saying it's still there. And not that the hackers have it, but they did at that one point. But that technology or that capability is still there. They haven't ruled it out. Yes, it makes sense that they could technically build something like that, or they technically have that access, but they actually have productized it in a way that it's simple for them to use. They can activate this thing, quote unquote, called God Mode. And from that, they can then act as any individual account and they can, do any and perform any action, including creating a tweet.
So they could kafefe everybody. That's pretty bad. And then NASA to test nuclear rocket engine for possible Mars missions. It says that, and by the way, we're going to update today because I know a lot of people are talking about, all of us were waiting for Ben from Suspicious Observers to kind of weigh in on the Earth's core stopping. I think that he did do a good job of basically giving his view on it. So I'm going to go over what I think, and after hearing from him, I do think that he has some really valid points as far as why the media kind of used this, and probably it actually kind of cements my thoughts that they're probably using it for a future kind of agenda. I don't know, because they said a lot of stuff about it. But again, I think a lot of creators didn't know what to think about that. We simply reported what they were reporting. And this is what mainstream was reporting, that the Earth's core is stopped. But according to him, the papers and the actual data says that it just slowed down. So I don't know what that actually means, and I still think that they don't know what that means. And as Ben said, Ben Davidson from Suspicious Observers said that it doesn't affect, as far as there's still the dangerous pole shift stuff going on. It's still on the extremely dangerous path that it's on, and they don't exactly know what is going on. So I think that obviously everybody kind of went nuts over that story, but we don't know exactly if it's the biggest thing in the world either, though. So I just wanted to, we'll talk about that later, and then we'll talk about everything else that is going on right now. But I think he did a really good job. Make sure to go check out his last 2 videos. He basically called out mainstream media and independent alike and basically said that a lot of people freaked out about it. I mean, I definitely, when I saw that story, it was definitely one of the most exciting things I've seen in years. A nuclear thermal rocket engine in development could be one one day transport humans to Mars. The Defense Advanced Research Project, or DARPA, a research arm of the U.S. Department of Defense and NASA, are setting their sights on a type of rocket engine that could be the holy grail for quickly and safely getting humans to the red planet. The first test could occur as soon as 2027. It says, according to Tuesday news release from the space agency, DARPA and NASA have a long history of fruitful collaboration in advancing technologies from our respective goals, from the Saturn V rocket that took humans to the moon for the first time to robotic servicing and refueling of satellites. DARPA Director Dr. Stephanie Tompkins said in a statement that the space domain is critical to modern commerce, scientific discovery, and national security. It says the U.S. military and NASA sought to develop this type of technology in the mid-20th century, but the program stalled. Now the initiative is gaining new traction in the modern era as the demonstration rocket for Agile Cislunar Operations, or DRACO, program. It says research into nuclear thermal rocket engines by NASA began in 1959. A key program in the 1960s called the Nuclear Engine for Rocket Vehicle Application even sought to demonstrate the technology in space, but that never came to fruition. I wonder why. Funding for NERVA, however, decreased in the late 1960s, and the program was canceled in 1973 before any flight tests of the engine took place. So it's one thing I've noticed is that they're bringing a whole lot of weird stuff back that we could have done 40 years ago. And that's what kind of made me wonder about the whole thing in the first place. These days, NASA has renewed interest in sending humans to the red planet. The space agency's Artemis program, which has an inaugural uncrewed test flight to the moon last year, directs the space agencies to return humans to the lunar surface as a stepping stone for eventually putting the first humans on Mars. They have talked about the moon actually being kind of this launch pad or secondary, the first spot you would go to before you would then launch to Mars. I want to say Elon did like a little thing where he showed you would first go to Mars, and then when the moon lined up with Mars, then you would launch at the shortest period, whatever else. I know that there's a lot of people in here that don't exactly believe any of this, but I do think it is interesting beyond belief that they are talking about in mainstream. This is what people accept as fact, that humans are trying to get to Mars. For what reason? Why? And why is the one who's spearheading it, and nobody's really fighting it, the guy who says that he believes that the world, its best chance of survival is interplanetary life, like, taking over other planets. He also is an end of the worlder. People didn't believe Jacob when he said that he watches Jacob or myself. To be honest, it's very easy to find this stuff online. If you are into this kind of stuff, specifically, how many creators are you actually going to find? As we know, our community is a really tight niche, and most of our audience members, everybody knows the same people. When I say Ben from Suspicious Observers, almost everybody here goes, oh, yeah, I know that. Or if I say BP Earthwatch, or if I say Jacob Israel, if I say any of that, everybody knows that because we're into this kind of stuff. That's, again, another part of the reason why I'm like, if you're trolls, this is stuff that you guys search out. So as far as like him finding us, it wouldn't be too hard to do, especially when people in this niche do so many videos about him. If you were an uber famous person, you probably would watch the stuff that was done on you, right? I bet he does. For some reason, I just think he watches, most stuff with his face or his name in the title. Just a theory there. But as far as him, he actually believes these things, and his public comments have said many times that he thinks that the end of the world is around the corner, and that if we don't become an interplanetary species, then we're doomed. He has said that people need to have 6 children because that we're actually going to have a population decrease and all of these things. And by the data that we all see and by what we hear in the media, we're like, wait a second, I thought we were overpopulated. Now he's saying that we need to have 6 kids. What does he know as the richest man on earth that we don't? What are the richest people in the world doing by starting this government in space like Asgardia? DuckDuckGo it, you'll see for yourself. It's a real government. Now it has like the secondary tier where anybody can go and buy a $15 certificate or however much it costs that says, I'm a citizen of Asgardia. But in the real world above, these elites are really doing all of the paperwork to make a real government in space. So what are they actually doing? And if you are one of the few, probably one of the many too, that believe that that's all BS, what are they doing then? What is the Asgardia thing? And is that just another club that they're meeting at, or what? I don't know. But this whole thing is very freaky to think that this is all going to happen in the same time period. I mean, 4 years from now is the same amount of time that has lapsed since 2019, the start of CV. That's not too long ago. And we're talking about that same amount of time. If you can think of, 2019 was just 4 years ago. In that same amount of time, they're talking about the first people going to the moon, Mars, whatever else. Why such a hurry? That's my question. Dex, what do you think about all of this? Like the whole thing. Oh, and by the way, Elon posting the picture of the space ark showing 2 of each animals. I could go on for days. You guys know, if you watch my show all the time, then you already know my opinions on this. I think something's up, but again, that's me. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, just a couple of quick side facts on this whole notion of nuclear powered rockets. They're using fission. It's not like they're making little explosions, but this fission is making the atoms collide, causing it to accelerate to heat up an accelerant. It's the same thing a rocket does, but it's using chemicals. So it burns the chemical and it creates that accelerant, that byproduct of water, where in this case is a byproduct of hydrogen. The efficiency is so much greater in this model. Now, they won't be launching them from Earth that way. They'll actually launch them from Earth with a traditional rocket, and then they'll use the nuclear capability once they're in space. That's the whole point. It is obviously it's old technology, as you said. We've been talking about this for years. This is not something new, but it seems like it's something that's now getting the funding to actually bring to fruition, where it was sort of just on paper and in a lot of theorists' minds back when they were developing it in the 60s and even earlier. So, this is kind of interesting to see what types of engines are going to be created for space travel. Obviously, we're very limited with what we have now. We have to carry a whole bunch of fuel with us to get up, and then we have to have enough fuel with us to get to wherever we're going and back again. It's not like there's a gas station yet on another location like the moon or Mars or somewhere where we can just refill. And it's not like we have lithium crystals like they have in Star Trek, where we have like an unlimited supply of gas until we have to replace them every 20 years or something. So it is kind of an interesting time, I think, when we look at this technology and how it may evolve in pretty rapid succession, as we are obviously spending so much money, which is the point you're making, is why are we spending all this money to get off planet? Why the rapid rush now? But while this rush is happening, we're going to see some pretty interesting tech. And now it wouldn't surprise me if we start to see some tech we've never heard of before or has never really seen the light of day, kind of like this.
Yeah, and by the way, if Elon asks you, hey, can you help me move? Say yes, because you might get a free ticket. You might have to move a couch or two, but you might just be able to ride along to the Mars house. I don't know. And then, by the way, so a few people talked about the Doomsday Clock. We were going to talk about that. That has moved to 90 seconds to midnight, which most people are like 10 seconds. Who cares? I thought it was kind of funny. It was at 100 seconds in the first place, like a minute and 40 seconds away. But they have a way that they do it, and even that 10 seconds, for those that believe in that clock and what it says, that's a big movement. I don't know why they don't just put it from 5 seconds to midnight, because look at where we're at right now. I mean, I guess they have a system of how many seconds and why, but we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about, of course, Vlad in our backyard. U.S. and IS kick off massive exercise, so major military movement happening right now. And then also I will mention on Twitter, what was it, Christine Rizzo, I think, sent it to me, but there was videos of tanks. Maybe that was something else she sent, but I think it was Christine Rizzo that sent me videos of Kansas of thousands of tanks being moved. So I don't know what is actually happening there, or if that was an older video, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. And then incredible U.S. spy plane photo shows metallic orb UFO flying over Iraq in groundbreaking classified Pentagon image. they say, right? So we'll talk about that here in just a second. Thank you, all the DLive people. And to the DLive fam, DLive was like completely down. So we don't know what happened with that, but it wasn't even showing up. Badger1, thank you. I'm glad you guys made it. And then Marky B, thank you so much. Release the Quacken. Cognitable says, keep it up with the Foogles. Release the Quacken. Beer Juice, thank you so much. And, of course, Philbilly, Chance, and Jammer. I hope you're doing okay tonight. And then, let's see here. We also have Big Fish. And thank you for all the people gifting out Marfia badges, like Release the Quacken. Thank you. And Release the Quacken, thank you for doing that. Incredible U.S. spy plane photo shows metallic orb. So check this out. Dex, do you think that was like, do you think this is the antenna ball of like a, or what the heck is this? It's huge, or is it really, really close to the camera? Is that a balloon floating up? What do you guys think it is? Dex, if you see the video, it's a little bit different, right? It's kind of hard to say that's a balloon.
Oh yeah, it's definitely some sort of sphere. And again, this is alleged. Alleged in the sense that it's supposed to have come from a U.S. spy plane. It got procured from this gentleman, Jeremy Corbell, who and George Knapp, who got it via a FOIA request or something like that. But what we don't know, we haven't heard anything from the government telling us, yes, that's we know what that is. Other than that, it's an unknown object. But it is moving in purpose. It is a sphere. It is captured there. It's not like this is, one of those, videos or photos you see on, social media, and you don't know who really made it and if it was CGI or not. So we're assuming this is not. We're assuming everything from this is true. But again, it came from our military. It came from a FOIA request. It then went to these gentlemen who then posted it. So that's the chain of it being touched by different people. But definitely an interesting and probably one of the most interesting pictures I've seen of a UAP or a potential UFO, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I know who's in it. It's this kid and him with his NASA hat. He's chilling in that orb. What do you guys think it is? And again, you can access the original files by going over to marfooglenews.com and going to the original article. It is right on the page under this thumbnail. That's marfooglenews.com, and then just click on today's thumbnail. And then central banks turn to gold as losses mount. So one thing I will point out is gold and silver really has been one of the most reliable things out there. And many of you guys know I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to Bitcoin. I won't say kind of. And I am definitely a big idiot because when somebody first told me about Bitcoin, it was $30 a piece. Or no, it was $13 when this guy, my neighbor, while I was waiting to pick up food, told me about it. And I thought it sounded like the stupidest thing in the world. He said, yeah, nobody knows who made it. It's digital. You don't have anything to back it up. It's all just, it's on a computer server and all these computers talk to each other. And I was like, yeah. He's like, man. And I just got a work Christmas bonus of $1,000 from a driving job. And I had it, and I actually have my rent covered. And I was saying, man, he said, man, you should just buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. And I remember specifically saying, yeah, oh yeah, sure. And then I even told my wife about it when I got home, and I said, this is the dumbest thing ever. And then, of course, each Bitcoin was $13. If you do the math, even after it's gone down, I think it was a blessing that I didn't, because if that did happen, I probably wouldn't have had the next couple years and then led me into YouTube. So I think everything happens for a reason. But I always have my doubts about it. And I've had my doubts about, the whole way that it came into place. And then now how the new thing is that the government wants everybody on digital. And I thought, man, that's like perfect. Make at first say, oh, this is totally decentralized, and then have it be centralized and have it all go through. At first, when the first stories came out about like Bitcoin being able to be tracked down, like people sent money and stole money through it. And then the feds were basically able to track it down and grab the money back. I'm like, I thought that wasn't possible with this. Again, I'm not good with the Bitcoin, but one thing I have always known about since my stepdad, when I was a little kid, is gold. And this is what's weird. China is now hoarding gold and buying more than we've ever seen. And it says in 2022, central banks will have purchased the largest amount of gold in recent history. According to the World Gold Council, central bank purchases of gold have reached a level not seen since 1967. The world's central banks bought 673 metric tons in 1 month. It says, and in the third quarter, the figure reached 400 metric tons. This is interesting because the flow from central banks since 2020 had been eminently net sales. It said that, of course, most central banks' largest percentage of reserves are U.S. dollars, which usually come in the form of U.S. Treasury bonds. So something is massively changing underneath our noses. Dex, with this is kind of eye-opening. People should be paying attention. Why are all of the countries of the world snatching up gold?
It's certainly one of those things you think about from an investment standpoint. You don't put everything into precious metals, but having something there hedges you against, bad times. Well, when you look at these bankers putting so much into it, they got to know something's coming. And we sort of all can see the writing on the wall. We've talked quite a bit about resets and other things that have been talked about that potentially may be coming. All of those signs, and this especially, should make people really worry about what's going to come next from a financial point of view. I'm not necessarily thinking like some massive collapse and it's all bad, but at the same time, there's something going on because they're hedging. They know that they're having to bring, these metals in because it's something that does hold value. And, as we all know, a long time ago, everything was gold backed. Now it's not. It's paper money, and they just issue it whenever they want. And it becomes more and more worthless. But that's why I think these banks are trying to put as much of their financial backing into things like gold and silver, specifically because they understand something's happening with this. And it probably goes back to this idea of, creating a different currency, creating a digital currency, and what may be coming in the near future. And we all speculate, we all talk about, and we all, try to read between the lines with some of these, different groups, the Bergs to the WEFs to the whatever, about what they're trying to do. But ultimately, I think, there is something coming, and hopefully it's not horrible, but at the same time, we should at least be paying attention and be prepared, at least, think about what you're going to do.
And I definitely want to get to this part. This is very important. China's high foreign exchange reserves are a key source of stability for the People's Bank of China. But the high amount of U.S. dollars, $3.1 trillion, may have been a key stabilizing factor in 2022. But it could be too much if the next 10 years bring a wave of money devaluation that has never happened before. Things that have never happened before, as far as that goes, I thought about how, what was it? Was it George? Soros, Mr. Soros, that said that the banks were going to purposely create a recession that no one's ever seen before, like the likes no one has ever seen, on purpose. And I just thought that was really quite creepy. And then it says central banks have been talking about the idea of issuing a digital currency, which would completely change the way that money works today. By issuing a digital currency directly into a citizen's account at the central bank, the financial institution would have all access to savers' information, and more importantly, would be able to accelerate the transmission mechanism of monetary policy by eliminating the channels that prevent higher inflation from happening. Also, taxes would just be able to just out directly. They would know exactly what you're doing. There's no hidden money. There would be no absolutely any kind of funny business. But here's the thing. People go, oh, yeah, that's great. But what about when you have a government that has all sorts of funny business going on? That's what's messed up about it. And that's why it has to be some sort of balance, right? because there can be some pretty bad people in charge. And if they are, then it turns into tyranny. Now, as far as I go back to Elon Musk saying it again, saying that everyone's best bet in the future is to have a guarantee. What is it? Guaranteed. What is the words he used? He used a guaranteed
income.
Yeah, but it was a different statement than that. It was like a guaranteed. It was basically welfare.
Universal income?
A universal income. And then the WEF saying that everyone will have nothing and be happy. Now, how are they going to do that unless we're in some sort of virtual world and all of our endorphins are getting triggered by some Neuralink thing that's basically making us happy when we're not? I don't get it. Everything we own will be virtual. I think that's what they're trying to say, because we're going to be locked in some sort of virtual simulation of what life should be out in the real world, and they're going to say, oh, the world's all destroyed. This is like every ominous movie we've ever seen, and this is what is coming from the real fact-based news and all that, right? And, we know that it's all a bunch of BS, but again, this is the narrative that they're actually pushing, and somehow we're the fearmongers. I just don't understand it. We'll talk about U.S. kicking off a massive exercise, so lots of military is being moved right now. And then, of course, we'll talk about China slams U.S. on debt limit, and then all of the other stuff going on. But first, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against one of the biggest threats against the U.S. and other countries, marfooglenews.com/EMP has EMP shields. This is a device that can protect not only your cars, your trucks, your ATVs, your motorcycles, your four-wheelers, and of course, even your generators. You can actually get one for the Flex 1500 solar generator or even your gas-powered generator. This is a device that can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before an EMP or a CME, the natural kind, can fry your device. This is the same company that's outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, and they are officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. Now, they are actually under an executive order. They and many other companies were supposed to harden our grid under Trump administration, but something has slowed them down. A lot of the things are not being enforced. That executive order, once that kicked in, EMP Shield and a bunch of other companies were supposed to basically outfit our entire country's grid. Even if they went on schedule, we're still years away and we are extremely vulnerable. Alongside that, we have one of the biggest threats ever, which is almost every country that hates us to the core has some sort of EMP or super EMP weapon, and they have threatened with it multiple times. So if you do want to be able to get home from work, if you work far away, or if you want to be able to drive and bug out, then you definitely want to protect your vehicles and anything kind of transport. You can also put one of these in your house if you plan to bug in. If you wire an EMP shield into your home, that can actually protect everything that's plugged in within 250 linear feet. So anything plugged in an average size house will be protected within 250 feet. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll not only save $50 off per device, but you'll also be helping our independent channel. Just to top that off, it also protects your home and other devices from lightning strikes. So very good in the Midwest. Again, anywhere that has a ton of lightning and thunderstorms, definitely a great thing, and will save you money right there, especially if you have one strike. That's a deductible in insurance you won't have to pay. All right. Dex, do you want to go over U.S. and Israel to kick off a massive exercise with 142 aircraft, satellites, and more?
Wow, this one's huge. So it's going to run from January 23rd to the 27th. So basically already started, or it's starting as we're speaking. 180,000 pounds of live munitions, 6,400 U.S. personnel, 450 of which will be on the ground and is. And the operations are going to take place in is and the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. It's no surprise or no shock to think that this is all about I ran to the store and what they can do, or what drills they need to do to go about practicing or preparing for what type of attacks or missions they would run against that country. So that's more than likely what we're seeing here. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of, words, if not even actions, coming from the I country over there. But yeah, a lot. 142 aircraft. 100 of them are American. B-52 Strata forces, Army AH-64 Apache attack helicopters, and RC-135 reconnaissance planes, Hawkeyes, EA-18 Growlers. The George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group will be supporting it as well. So lots. This is huge. It's a very, very big operation that's going down for a few days.
And we always cover every single exercise and drill, especially the large ones, because this can also be how they get things in position. China and Russia are doing a large drill off of the coast of, what is it, South Africa? Is that right?
That's correct.
And if you see the map of where they supposedly went, Dex, did I send you the picture of the? I don't think I did. There's a picture of a tweet of showing the path, and it shows the Admiral Gorkov kind of taking a right and going off from path, and then going within range of us. It's like things like that. It's like right when that drill was announced, this was weeks ago, we covered it, and I said, I asked you guys, remember I said, hey, what do you think that the strategic kind of reason would be why all of these Navy are going to go down to South Africa and meet up? Well, if you see the map, you can kind of understand why, because they can say they're going down here and then slowly drift over here. And if something was to pop off, that would be a good way to do it without alarming a lot of people. And if it's true that some of those ships have basically taken a detour and headed towards us, that's a freaky thing. Any moment right now, something could absolutely kick off. And people really push back when you say something like that. And or in a week, they'll say, oh, see, nothing happened. I'm not saying anything's going to happen, and I sure hope it doesn't. But this is a prepper community, and we're all prepping just in case if something does happen. It's way better to be prepared for something that happens than to be completely unprepared and be hit in the side of the face with something that is unlikely. You don't get car insurance because you know you're going to get in a crash. You get it because you think you may. So again, this is something that I hope people are paying attention to right now. And we'll talk about Russia being off our coast potentially here in just a second. But yeah, so there's a lot of big munitions. There's a lot of stuff being put here. Location-wise, where they're going, is there something else bigger to this? Is something about to pop off? In Romania, you have the 101st Division digging trenches in Romania. You have, of course, in Poland, Germany is placing Patriot missile systems on the border of Russia. So what the heck is going on here? It seems like, to me, there's something bigger happening, but they're just telling the public, stay calm, business as usual. At the same time, you are seeing central banks grabbing up all of the gold, China grabbing up all of the gold. You have the Pope telling all of the churches to put the money back in the central church bank. It's like, what the hell? Are people really just snoozing through all of these signs? I'm sorry. I think it's kind of dumb at this point to hit the snooze button, but again, give me your opinion. By the way, thank you as well for the support. Thank you for all of the Foogle fam that support our independent show. Carol McLean, along with Pat W., were the first to do Super Chats tonight. Thank you. Hello, Adam, Dex, Mods, and fam. We are finally discussing pole shifts, I see. LOL. Keep up the great things you guys are doing, brother. Pat W., well, thank you. And again, there's actually more to come. I'm going to make sure that I'm educated on it. I would love to have Ben from Suspicious Observers on, but again, I haven't connected with him yet. And then Joanna's Adventures, thank you. I appreciate that. Feathers and Flowers says, love your channel. Well, thank you, and I appreciate that, and thank you so much for sticking around. And then Bible Talk 777, wait till the Ruskies see those German tanks like WW2. So, Bible Talk, you were probably at the show. You remember when I shared, there is a clip that got released years and years, even decades later, of actual Adolf speaking about, it was Adolf saying, yeah, So here's the thing. You say that, but there was a reverse situation in World War II. In World War II, Adolf, there's a clip of him, and I'll try to find this clip and share it. I'll share it on Twitter. This clip has him actually talking in his real voice, and the only reason I clicked on it is said it was Adolf's real voice, and I was expecting some high-pitched girly voice or something, but it's this deep-voiced Adolf talking about how when he saw somebody his intelligence told him that Russia had 35,000 tanks. Now, mind you, that's a lot. This I brought up when they were saying that Russia has barely anything and all of this. Well, in World War II, Adolf actually said that when somebody told him that Russia had 35,000 tanks, he said, "Oh, you're tripping." And he says this in his way. He's like, "You basically saw a ghost, or you're smoking something." I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but he said, "Oh, you're crazy. You're mad. You're nuts. You're seeing a ghost." And then he said, "As sure enough, though, I saw it myself, 35,000 tanks on the field." And he goes, "I couldn't believe it." And it was something that Russia did to surprise. Nobody knew that they actually had 35,000 tanks, or at least Germany didn't. So I want to point that out. That was something that did work in World War II, and it's something that they could use against us. The element of surprise, having way more than you think they have. And I see a lot of these points, almost like Vlad has been reading The Art of War over and over again. Look weak when you are strong. Look strong when you are weak. Never underestimate your enemy. I mean, like, there's all sorts of quotes that could apply to what Vlad has been doing right now. Again, everybody says that they're backwards and they've got nothing going on, but they're not using up everything that they have. So good comment, Bible Talk. And then grace for you too. Thank you. And so grateful for you, Adam, Dex, and Mods. We appreciate your courage to share info that lets us know what is really going on. God bless you. Well, God bless you as well. Grace for you too. And thank you for sticking around for years. I appreciate everybody that has stuck around. Again, thank you so much for everybody that has kept faith in us, and I appreciate it. And I try to return the faith as much as I can in you guys. I love you. China slams U.S. on debt limit and accuses Washington of sabotage. So kind of some soft insult and some big words. Dex, do you want to cover how they actually slammed us in more than one way? Us and U.S., right?
Well, yeah, they're basically saying that we have this catastrophic debt problem, and that they're accusing us of sabotaging other nations while we try to resolve our own debt problem. So, obviously they're not in a great financial position either. Everybody seems to be in some way, shape, or form struggling with coming out of this, all the challenges from the CV and what happened with supply chains and lost GDPs and all that. So there's this huge ripple effect from that, as well as God knows what else they are doing. They being the people in power with the money around the globe are doing to the financial situation. But one of which is our debt, and we've hit that ceiling, so to speak. I think it happened a few days ago. And now the real question comes is what happens if we carry on? And there's a whole lot of ramifications that can come from that if we try to keep going without resolving our debt limit. It weakens a lot of the structure that's around that financial system that kind of holds it up. And if it all starts to fall down like a house of cards, that would not be a good thing, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else in the world. Because as you know, a lot of other countries are tied to this financial system and tied to our debt. China and Xi being one, they're the second largest that is holding debt against the U.S., Japan being the other, which is the largest right now. So that's and actually Xi diversified, obviously, probably buying a lot of gold last year and dropped from the number one holder of debt to the number two holder. So the real question is what's going to actually happen in Washington with our Congress and our president, and whether or not they're going to come to some sort of resolution on this debt ceiling. Obviously, we can't operate at 120% of GDP, which is what we're doing right now, and not accrue more debt. You can't spend more than you make and not take on debt. So either they have to find a way to completely curb spending, which never seems to happen, or they have to just keep, writing out these debt checks that we'll just keep passing off to our great grandchildren, because it'll be forever before it's ever paid off, if it ever is. I think it's probably one of those things we'll just ride off into infinity with, and this debt number will just keep growing forever.
And forever, I hope it doesn't. Well, of course, everything that is happening right now, a lot of comments saying pre-planned, it's going as planned by these evil people. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then remember, if you do want to help us, and again, if you're not somebody who, you don't have to super chat to help us, you don't have to go through our affiliates. The biggest thing you guys can do is share our stuff out, bring in somebody, bring a friend, say, hey, there's a great chat. There's normally a few thousand people of like-minded people that hang out. It's a great community. Everybody is positive, or at least most people are. Bring in somebody and say, hey, this is a great spot. It's great to listen to while at work. You can podcast it. Bring somebody new in, because that's the only way we can grow. You guys know what we're up against. You know how they are taking down and pushing us to the very bottom of the barrel. So I appreciate everybody that shares this out. They can't stop shares. Unless they take away that share button, that's literally the only thing that they really can't control, is you sharing it with a friend. So please bring in some new people, and make sure to comment in the video afterwards. Press the like button if you can. Again, if you do find us of any value at all, again, that would be very much appreciated. And then FBI, North Korean hackers behind $100 million Horizon Bridge theft. It says a pair of North Korean hacker groups were behind the June theft of $100 million in crypto assets from Horizon Bridge. It said, the FBI said, a service enabling crypto, Horizon Bridge, to be traded between Harmony blockchain and other blockchains, was drained of Ether, Tether, and wrapped Bitcoin. The FBI said that the hackers, cyber actors associated with the Republic of Korea, relied on malware campaign known as Traitor in the Harmony attack. Okay, so yeah. By the way, there's a lot of people that are losing a lot of faith in Bitcoin and all kind of crypto right now. I know there's people that are hardcore. And again, you may be right. Crypto is, again, it's hard for me because I've seen it over the last few years, and now all these things are falling apart. All these different things are happening, hacks. I guess explain to me in the comments if you are just still hardcore. What should I be thinking? How should I look at all of these things? 2 weeks ago, a privacy protocol railgun was used to launder more than $60 million in Ether. And it said, what is ETH, Dex? Is that Ether or is that Ethereum? Okay. Stolen during last year's theft. According to the FBI, a portion of it was sent to the other service providers and changed to Bitcoin. Some of the funds were frozen and others were moved to addresses identified in the agency's statement. So, Dex, when they do this, are they taking straight up money out of people's wallets? Like, is this somebody's savings that they're taking and stealing? Or is this money that somehow they're, getting from somewhere else? Or how do they do this?
Well, yeah, they're certainly taking it from someone when they, there's these, they think of them as literal coins or literal denominations of money. They're being transferred, or when they're being drained or taken, they're actually taking them, and whoever they're taking them from, in this case, maybe an exchange or something like that, was holding it for its customers. So it's its customers' money, and it's lost. And when it's gone, it's gone. So unless they can, in this case, they froze some of it, they found some of it, they'll probably try to get some of it back. On one hand, that's the nice part of digital, is that it's easy to sort of track, although some of it is untraceable, depends on which cryptos you're looking at. But here's the other thing. Think about this. This is what I like to relate is, if you go back to before we had digital currency, and oh, by the way, we're digital even if you're not using crypto. I'll talk about that in a second. It was a lot harder to scam somebody. In other words, if you wanted to get, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 out of you, and all you have is, green cash bills, and you're doing a transaction with somebody face to face, you're not that it's not as easy for you to just give up $3,000, right? Or lose a lot of money to someone, unless you're gambling or whatever. But, the point is, it's not like it's easy to scam somebody. But as digital comes along, as the internet comes along and everything becomes digital, it becomes so much easier to run a scam on somebody, whether it is, in this case, hacking in and taking coins, or in another case, it may be convincing someone that they're talking to the right department and they're trying to fix their account and they need them to transfer money back and forth via Zelle, which is cash. It's not crypto, but you still end up losing because they scam people out. So the whole point, this whole digital nature has made it easier for these types of scams to happen, or hacks to happen, where it wasn't as easy. I guess in the old days, it was, somebody literally had to hold you up and take your money. So it's a lot easier for people to do this around the globe, in other countries, under different laws, under, veils that can protect them or keep them from going to jail, et cetera. So that's sort of the new world, the new way of that we live in with this digital currency. And again, we all have, for the most part, I mean 100% of you, but we all use it in some form or another. If you have a bank account, if you have a credit card, if you have crypto, that stuff's all online, and you have the ability to transfer things digitally, whether it be using ACH or wire, or using a credit card as a middleman to process it, or you're using crypto to move money in real time from one person to another.
So, and everything is structuring around this whole big change to digital, even to the point of training us to use our cards and our debit and our credit. Even to the kids, they're pushing debit cards on children. The green dot cards and these things, there's like, oh, here's a card for your children to have tap to pay and this and that. They push it so hard on Facebook and on all these different platforms where they're pushing your child to get these cards. Well, to Walmart, when CV hit, it was just so convenient that they ran out of change. So everybody was like, oh, we can't take cash. They literally shut down cash in stores for a while there. And now that CV is technically over, or, most of the restrictions are gone, have the stores changed back to having physical people ring you out? No. Both sides of the stores in almost every Walmart and Fred Meyer and Target are now self-checkout. And those self-checkouts, out of 50 registers, if you have debit or credit, right in. You get your stuff done like that. If you're the one person with cash, you literally have to wait 15 minutes for the employee to tell you, oh, the cash one's over here. And then there's one machine for the 80 people in line that all have cash. But if you have credit, you skip to the front of the line and you go right through. You don't think that that's on purpose? I'm sorry. And the whole change, for some reason, CVI, no, there's no change circulating. That I did not get that at all. Somebody gave me a reasonable explanation for it, and I think I choked on it. Either way, thank you. By the way, thank you, Lola Cafe. Thank you for the emoji. Hugs to you as well. Andy Mack, I appreciate your support. And Baby Yoda says, howdy, old friend. Well, Baby Yoda, nice to see you, and it's nice to see you pop in again. All right, and then let's see. We've got a lot more stuff to go through. So Rheinmetall ready to send 139 Leopard tanks to the Iranian army. Now, going back to the last couple of weeks, if you haven't joined us for a while, like Baby Yoda or somebody else, this is pretty nuts. In particular, the Enterprise is ready to ship 29 Leopard 2A4 tanks intended for a chain swap in April and May of this year under the chain swap deal. Germany would supply Leopard tanks to countries that handed over their old Soviet-designed tanks to UKR. It says the Germany defense company said it would take almost a year to repair 22 more Leopards of the same type, and they could be handed over only in late 2023 or early 2024. Rheinmetall also said it could transfer another 88 older Leopards, but their condition is currently unknown. At the Ramstein Format Summit on January 20th, that's where all of those defense defense chiefs, including Sweden and Finland, every defense chief met up. UKR's military allies failed to agree to supply Leopards to UKR, with the German government in particular foot dragging on taking a decision. Basically, they said, okay, US, you send as many and we'll do it too, which I can kind of see the point of, right? So you send your tanks too then. Some of UKR's partner states have expressed their readiness to provide UKR with German-made Leopard tanks, but are waiting for Berlin's permission to re-export them tanks. Them tanks. I thought they were saying, re-export them tanks. Hey, get me them tanks. But they were saying them tanks. Got it. Dex, you remember that comment? Who was that? It was one of the elite evil people that said, it's kind of funny that they're like, basically, they said, they straight up said, use Southern European soldiers instead of your own, and the body bags will be of those people and not us.
It was George Soar.
Oh, and he basically saying that we are basically having the UKR people perish instead of sending our own people, right? Or like, it's smarter to do that.
He was saying basically that the Western European or the Western allies aren't very fond of having body bags. So but the Eastern Europeans would be okay with it. So if we could find a way to leverage the Eastern Europeans in a conflict, then and not have to use the human capital of the Westerns, then everything would work out because we wouldn't be sending the body bags back to the Western allies.
Wow. So I just think of how basically everybody's like, well, you destroy yours. We don't want to use our good ones. Give theirs, and then we'll give you ours. And then in reversal, U.S. poised to approve Abrams tanks for UKR. So apparently it works. Either way, when you see all of these, and now that it is turning, and this is exactly what I said and many others said, that it was just they were just holding it off for a little bit, but they're going to do it. And I believe that's even on Twitter. It says, in what would be a reversal, the Biden administration is poised to approve sending M1 Abrams tanks to UKR. This goes back to the caller the last couple of weeks, Dan, who is active duty and called in and said his theory, and it's only a theory, said that he believes that they may be loading up UKR with all of this gear, all of these tanks, all of these weapons, because they are getting ready to actually man those tanks and man those gears, basically setting up before the NATO military comes in and actually runs the stuff. That is a possibility at this point. You see what they're doing in Romania and in Poland and all these other places. It's set up for an escalation. At the same time, maybe Russia knows this. Maybe that's why it's putting the Gorshkov off of our coast. Who knows? Maybe they're threatening us like, hey, we know what you're thinking. One thing I keep thinking about is previous news that nobody mentions is that satellite that Russia apparently hacked or something. And it sounds like Russia may have seen UKR's like plans. Dex, am I right, or is that flip-flop? Was it UKR saw Russia's plans or vice versa? It was Russia that saw UKR and the US's plans, or potentially did, because they hacked a specific satellite. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember which side it was. I do not recall.
So I'll have to look that up to verify it, so don't take that as fact. But if somebody in the chat wants to verify that and let us know what I'm thinking of, I feel like it was Russia accessed a UKR satellite and somehow got plans off it. I keep thinking about that when I think of this. It's like you see all of these actions happening and you don't know, maybe they know something that the public doesn't know, and that's why all of these chess pieces are being moved around for an event that we don't even know exists yet. But yeah, so they hacked the Wapner. Dex, I'm assuming you're going to say that?
No, I was going to go back to the tanks. Go ahead.
Oh, no. So somebody said the Wapner, WOPNR. That's what they put in the chat. I'll see if I can find it real quick here. And I think you're right. Let's see. Or is that a news site? Is that something else? This one says, what will Russia do with unreleased hacked data? Let's see. Yeah. Look at this. Russia hacked UKR satellite communications. Officials believed that Russia is believed to have hacked U.S. satellite communications provider Viasat on the day of its invasion of UKR. Western intelligence agencies haven't been investigating the incident. So, mind you, that means that they could have gotten the full battle plan and know every step ahead. That's not good. Maybe that's why we're seeing the things that we are seeing. And that was on February 24th, apparently, or on the day of the start of it. So something is definitely above our heads, and we don't see what it is. And then Western allies advise UKR to switch from Bakhmut to country's south front. We'll talk about that after. Dex, do you want to weigh in on the tanks?
Yeah, I had a quick comment on the tanks. Just I want to put this back in perspective for everybody. Going back to the Leopards, if those roll into UKR, the last time that happened was in 1943. The last time that happened was when, and I say that, I mean German tanks. That's when they rolled in, and they went in for, I think it was the Battle of Kursk, which is just outside the edge of UKR. It's the western edge of Vlad's country, the very eastern north edge of UKR. That's where a lot of this is happening right now. So when you think about history repeating itself, now mind you, all of those tanks rolling in from Germany in that time period didn't get very far. They ended up getting pushed back really hard. As you said, there was like 35,000 Vlad tanks on the other side. But that was the last time they were on their soil. It was 1943, and they may be going on their soil any day now, which is kind of a big deal. And when you think about the fact that even Russia feels that UKR is part of its country, and it certainly was back then as part of the Soviet Union, this is a very emotional thing, I would think, for their country to see these tanks rolling in.
Most definitely is, and these are. If you haven't, by the way, have I been saying Leopard tanks when it's Leopard? You said Leopard. Is that how it's pronounced?
In Germany, it's Leopard Panzer, I believe, is the name of the company.
Okay.
But it's Leopard, but I think they just call it Leopard.
Okay.
It's like Reuters and Reuters. It's Reuters, but yeah.
No, everybody,
we all have our thing.
I purposely say it Reuters and Rotors. Tomato. Yeah, you get it. Everybody knows what I'm saying too. It's like the Twitter grammar people. I get it. It's Twitter though. It's the home of BRB and IDW or IDK. I don't even know the thing for I don't know. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure to go over to check out the Essentials of Life over on marfugglenews.com/prep. This is a great resource for affordable packages of a whole lot in, again, bulk, freeze-dried, Mylar-sealed, 25-year shelf life food. What I really like about the My Patriot Supply food is that you can get it 3 months for right now about $600. That's $200 off with our link, and that is compared to some of the competitors that can range from $1,600 to $2,000 for the same 3 months. That is enough to get by and survive for 3 people for 1 month for that package. Or you could do a month and a half for 2 people. Or if you're by yourself, that's 3 months of food. When you break it down per day, that is an awesome, awesome deal. As far as they always have a lot of other great stuff on there as well, so make sure to check out the tab at the top. You can get the Alexa Pure Pro. You can get all sorts of other stuff, survival gear, cooking gear, tools, power lighting, stoves, fuel, lighters, first aid, medical, survival books, which, again, if things actually hit the fan, then, we won't have Google or DuckDuckGo to, look up what berries to eat. It's really good to have survival books. That's just a side note. Everybody should know by now. You should have some of those. So if you want to go through a source that not only you're going to get a discount through, but you're also going to help our independent channel, this would be the one. Go to marfugglenews.com/prep. Again, really, really great deals. and you're supporting us at the same time. All right, and then Western allies advised UKR to switch from Bakhmut to country's south front. And then we'll quickly go through this. And then UKR rocked by corruption scandal. Wave of top officials resign. Sports cars, mansions, luxuries, vacation as people suffered. Dex, do you want to go over both of these at the same time?
Well, certainly. So this is actually something we talked about at least last week. I'm pretty sure it was specifically that we were talking about the intel coming from the U.S. and sort of like after those meetings they had about what they were doing over in UKR and what they weren't doing really well, like going toe to toe with mortars. They were going to get lose by attrition to Vlad, so stop doing that. And in this case, they're continuing to push them hard, telling them, hey, stop wasting your time in Bakhmut. You're going to lose. Like you keep reinforcing it, and you need to go focus on your southern border or your southern area there, and the other offensives that you're trying to actually move forward. But you're splitting everything because you're wasting your time in an area that it's impossible for you to win. But they keep doing it. So obviously, there's a lot of there seems to be a lack of intelligence from a military standpoint that is happening in UKR compared to at least what the talking heads of the West would say. Obviously, they think that they're much smarter when it comes to this stuff, and that's why they're offering their opinion, or in this case, really urging them to do something different. Because what they're doing is not going to work. So that's that story. The other one is rather interesting. Corruption coming out. Did you have something to say?
No, I'm good. You can,
okay, cool.
I'm trying to conserve on time because I know we're a little bit behind.
Yeah, this whole notion around corruption, absolutely. This whole notion around corruption over there has been top of mind for a lot of people, especially given the amount of money that's just flowing into that country, and in some cases flowing back out, as we've talked about talking about the crypto and stuff. So just interesting update to see that they're actually doing something about it. Now, I don't know if this is lip service or just taking out some of the people that they don't think that were involved and using that as scapegoats, so to speak. But apparently a lot of heads are sort of rolling over there in the sense of the amount of corruption that they're identifying and trying to put a stop to. I still think that, in my opinion, this whole thing is corrupt in the big scheme. So I don't know that it necessarily solves any one problem, just taking a little piece of it out.
Okay, so, and most people know that that the president himself played a president on TV. In fact, he played a normal average guy who just happened to get put into the presidential palace, right? And then it happened in real life, and now he's the actual president. So he was really good at acting like one before he actually did it, right? But if you read who was involved here, it says a top presidential advisor. So somebody who's directly on his right side, and 4 deputy ministers among those these 2 defense officials. It says along with 5 regional governors were forced out of their posts. These guys are quitting because they're finding all these things, and people are asking questions like, hey, where'd that money go, by the way? All this money that people are complaining about, 10 years goes by, we're going to find out a whole lot. If we're still around after this absolute circus, there's a reason why that NATO didn't just go, oh, come on in. Come on in, guys. Oh, take off your shoes at the door. Let's come on in. Welcome. Because there's been a lot of skeevy things that have gone down. And if these people are, you think that the guy that's sitting in the same room as him going, hey, yeah, you should do that. No, you probably shouldn't do that. Yeah. Oh, you think he's involved in a scandal, but everybody else isn't? All of these heads are rolling right now. This is going to be way bigger than anything else, in my opinion, when all sorts of stuff ends up coming out. But that's just my opinion. Again, all these resignations should mean something. And by the way, allegations and probes into cases ranging from bribery to mismanagement of aid funds, the money that people are giving them, purchasing food to embezzlement to driving expensive cars. So meanwhile, while these people are putting generators outside their restaurants to keep them going, People are driving Ferraris around. Go ahead, Dex.
There was one example in here that said one of the people was purchasing military equipment at inflated prices and what appears to be a scheme to line the pockets of contractors and potentially involving kickbacks to himself. And I sort of chuckle and say, are they taking lessons from the U.S.?
Or are they the U.S.? Look at that face.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at it. Somebody's like, F you. Or is that the face like, they don't know. I want that to be my new profile pic on my non-existent Facebook. All right. Russia orders Estonian ambassador to leave country. Okay. The Estonian ambassador in Russia has been ordered to leave the country by the 7th of February. Says the Russian Foreign Ministry released a statement on Monday accusing Estonia of total Russophobia. It is the first ambassador Russia has expelled since invading UKR in February of last year. Estonia recently ordered the Russian embassy in Tallinn to reduce its diplomats from 17 to 8 by the end of January. Ambassador Marcus Lidre has been appointed to the Federation since 2018 and has previously held the role in the UK and Finland. He is working from the Estonian embassy in Moscow and will now be replaced by a charge of d'affaires, a diplomat of a lower rank acting in place of an ambassador. The statement from Russia said that in recent years, the Estonian leadership has purposely destroyed the entire range of relations with Russia. Total Russophobia, the cultivation of hostility towards a country, have been elevated in Tallinn to the rank of state policy. Now Estonia has taken a new, unfriendly step to radically reduce the number of personnel of the Russian embassy in Tallinn, confirming the line towards the collapse of relations between our countries. As a response, the Russian side decided to downgrade the diplomatic representative in both countries to charge d'affaires, in charge of affairs, basically. And then, Dex, do you want to explain the PDF half of this?
Well, so obviously relations between Estonia and Russia are not that great right now. And rightfully so. Estonia is part of NATO. But if you, we don't have a map to show, but if you were looking at a map, there's the, the Baltic Sea that runs right by Estonia between Finland and it. There's a Finland Gulf, or I think is the name of it. But Estonia is actually suggesting and considering the possibility of effectively blocking the passage of Vlad's ships through the Baltic Sea. So if they close off this corridor and claim or, create a zone that they're going to manage and not allow them to come through, they claim they have a right to do it. They claim based on the distances between the two countries and the amount of space that they have that they could do that. They could literally effectively shut Vlad's ships out from going through that passage, which is critical to reaching the northern part there of Russia. So this is kind of an interesting a turn of events. I don't know if it'll really happen. It's kind of a big deal for Estonia to do, but at the same time, they're NATO, and so they do wield more power in the sense that they can say, you can't mess with us, because if you do, you're going to mess with everyone. And they could also be leveraged because they are NATO. They could be leveraged by the West to do thy bidding, so to speak. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Again, the prior article just sort of let us know that things aren't really well right now between those two countries. And now here we see this potential recommendation from Estonia to actually block them out.
Which, as you can see on this map here, this area would block them from accessing the northern part, which this right here, this is Russia. On the other side of Lake Peipus and Lake Peskovorskoye. 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 I think that's the proper pronunciation. And then Russian warship with unstoppable 7,000 mile per hour hypersonic missiles. Main story in just a sec. Do want to remind you, though, if you don't have backup power, go over and check out marfooglenews.com/energy. This is the system that I am waiting on. Just like everybody else, I've been waiting for months now, and I'm super pumped to get the X2. The X2 is the new all built-in one version. And, of course, if you already have the Flex 1500, again, this is one of the best systems ever. If anyone already has one of these, make sure to let people know how awesome these are. They're built like trucks. They are expandable. They're modular. You can actually put in different mods to make it even work faster as far as input. There's a mod that you can supercharge this to input instead of 4 panels. You can actually triple it to 12. This can be expanded up to 96 batteries, or it can be portable. You can take 1, 2, 3, or even 5 in a single stack and take it with you. This is an incredible machine, and it is also incredibly well-made one. These are literally built like trucks. But this is not cheap. It is an actual system to back you up with basically infinite power. As long as you have solar panels and sun, you have unlimited energy, which is incredible. As far as other pros is that it does not make sound. Even when it is super overloaded, if you do like the absolute max watts, there's a tiny fan that comes on. For the first time in however almost a year that I've had it, I finally overloaded it to the point where the little tiny fan comes on. Definitely not something you can hear from 3 blocks away. This is completely silent when you're not at full capacity, which means no one's going to know you have backup power. This can also be run inside. There's no noxious fumes, and there's no $5 a gallon gas that you have to store, which most people, if you're in an apartment or somewhere like that, you probably can't store hazardous fuels anyways. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. You can save up to $170 off on certain packages at the same time as supporting us. This, I believe people will truly thank us the first storm that they go through or their first power outage. To have everything and to be able to just keep going is absolutely amazing. As far as the X2, again, make sure to check that out. That's really great for van lifers or RVers or anybody that just wants one that's all built in one. Just bring that and solar panels and boom, you've got power wherever you go. It's incredible. All right, marfooglenews.com/energy. Again, these will last decades to come. And then Russian warship with unstoppable 7,000-mile-per-hour hypersonic missile sails towards the U.S. and will soon be in strike range. So, first of all, at the very end of last night's show, we, of course, got the news of this, and it was kind of through the grapevine. I first found out about it through Canadian Prepper, which I saw. He's obviously one of the biggest channels, and he covered it, which he did a great job because he was ahead of most. But he gave proper credit to, he found it on, I believe, Green Greg's, and Green Greg actually had on Lee Wheelbarger. And that person is who the one that actually put all of this stuff together first, or at least one of the first people that did. But it was incredibly hard to find an actual source on this. So we could have technically covered this last night, but I didn't want to do it without absolute proof. Now, we still don't have absolute proof because they are saying that it most likely is. Now, there is a kind of a graph that shows why this would make sense and what was happening here. But it says the Russian warship armed with unstoppable hypersonic missiles is sailing towards the U.S. coast in a show of strength. It says the guided missile frigate Admiral Gorshkov has been closely monitored by NATO navies on its maiden voyage armed with the 6,670-mile-per-hour Zircon weapons. It says an unconfirmed Russian Telegram channel says it is spotted on radar in neutral waters of the Atlantic Ocean at an effective salvo launch distance from the U.S. coast. The nuclear-capable Mach 9 missiles have a reported range of 625 miles. The Russian Defense Ministry has not commented on the latest report. It comes as the Royal Navy intercepted the Gorshkov as it sailed through the English Channel earlier this month. Most recently, the Russian vessel was tailed by the Portuguese Navy in the Atlantic and was expected to sail around Africa. Remember when we talked about that Africa thing? I asked you guys, I'm like, what would they need to do strategically there? Well, there's a map that shows all of the ships that were involved in this drill, and you see a bunch of them going down, and according to multiple sources basing this off of multiple countries' radars, saying that the Gorshkov basically took a right and kind of snuck away from the group. Said, I'm going to go make a fire over here. I'm going to go explore. I'm going to go get some mushrooms on trees. And I don't know if they said that, but it sounds a lot like something a Gorshkov would say. But again, the scary part is that this is a nuclear-capable battleship with zircon weapons. So by any means, I hope that, people don't freak out. Everybody should be, instead of riding the roller coaster up and down, you should be chill and just relaxed, but also prepared for anything. And with all of the other kind of dots that are connecting at this point, I don't know how people aren't a little on edge for this. But, again, we don't know what the absolute truth is here. And it very well could just be a show of strength. Dex, they've heard enough of my opinion on this. Again, and you can also go share this with a friend or family member. It is already uploaded onto Marfoogle News on our sister channel. Dex, do you want to go into this? I mean, it's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it is in one regard. On the flips, so there's a couple things I'll think about when I listen to this. This originally embarked on its journey. I think it was around January 4th. Even Putin made a statement at that time. It's important. It's monumentous, and it is to show a sign of strength to the West, and basically boasting that NATO could not match his latest generation of hypersonic firepower. And so that's, I think when we look at this, I would look at it more along those lines. Again, it also, they're suggesting that it left its other ships that it was traveling with. So it left its group. That makes it more vulnerable. So it's not necessarily the right tactic you would use if you were literally going to perform an attack, so to speak. And I think that's what people worry, if it gets within range of the U.S. shore. Now, let's flip that around. Russia's got a bunch of subs, and we do too. And we park these things all over the place. They've even suggested that they've been in your neck of the woods, Adam, right? Like Puget Sound or somewhere. Like they've all these places that subs have popped up, and that's part of their goal, is to find other ones and or get to as close to the enemy, so to speak, as possible without being detected. So we can worry about this one ship, but like there are subs sitting out there all the time that are closer than that ship, may not have the same speed for its weapons, but definitely just as dangerous and definitely closer, more than likely. Now, we spend our time hunting them. They do the same thing, and we probably have our subs sitting off their coast all the time as well, and or tracking their fleets, things like that. So again, I look at this one a little bit more as a sign of strength, but you never know. Like, when that one event happens, it's going to happen because something like this, it's not going to be the entire armada comes barreling across the Atlantic and everybody gets, 7 days notice because they say, look at all the ships coming right at us. That's not necessarily the way it works. So, there is the element of surprise. There is the element of something would happen that you wouldn't expect. And looking at this is expected to be more of a show of strength than being an actual tactic. But maybe that's the guise that they're going to use to actually do something. You never know.
Yep. And as far as the subs, they did a documentary in Russia where part of this documentary did a very controversial thing where the Russian Navy sub popped up in the Pacific. I want to say. It was right outside Seattle. They took selfies in front of the Seattle skyline. So basically, they were saying like, "Hey, we can pop up right in your backyard, and nobody will ever know." That's what they did. They basically surfaced right there with the Space Needle and everything in the background. I mean, that's freaking scary. They could come right up to us, and we wouldn't even know. So again, if people are freaked out about this, well, then you're going to be 24/7 freaked out because those submarines are, even from our own Pentagon, they've said that the Russia now and almost all of the modern subs are absolutely silent, and they can sneak all around. They can pop up and launch missiles. They can launch missiles from underneath that will literally pop out of the water and destroy things. So you could either spend the rest of your life freaked out, or you could just live life every single day because you're not promised tomorrow. Have faith that you'll be going to the right place. And then Doomsday Clock moves closest ever to midnight. So I saw a lot of comments over today. Obviously, everybody's talking about this today. The Doomsday Clock, one thing I see, though, is the group of people that are with it. There's a lot of biased people and a lot of people that are involved directly with this that make comments about all of the controversial things that everybody here is arguing about. So I've seen some of the people involved in this, and they are obviously, biased and believe in some of the propaganda stuff. So that's why I'm not so freaked out about the Doomsday Clock. I guess most people don't exactly understand it. They just know, it moved up 10 seconds. But it says that the Doomsday Clock, symbolizing the perils to humanity, moved Tuesday to its closest ever to midnight amid the UKR conflict, nuclear tensions, and the event happening with our weather, supposed event. And the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist, which describes the clock as a metaphor for how close humanity is to annihilation. I did it! Yay! Should probably do that on camera. And a decision to reset the hands of the symbolic timepiece taken each year by the Bulletin Science and Security Board and its board of sponsors, which includes 10 Nobel laureates. It's like, ooh, they're Nobel. Yeah. In a statement to the Bulletin, it said advancing the hands on the clock this year was due largely, but not exclusively, to Russia's invasion of UKR and increased the risk of nuclear escalation. And, of course, it was started a bunch of other stuff, basically talking about CV and living in this was a quote, "We are living in a time of unprecedented danger, and the Doomsday Clock reflects that reality." This was also founded by people like Einstein. So it kind of gives it some, obviously some reputation there. It says the U.S. government, its NATO allies, and UKR have a multitude of channels for dialogue. We urge leaders to explore all of them to their fullest ability to turn back the clock. They also talk about how basically they haven't listened to it, but apparently when this does get close, certain things have happened before, but, again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. It says the clock was originally set at 7 minutes to midnight. The furthest from midnight it has ever been is 17 minutes following the end of the Cold War in 1991. The Bulletin was founded in 1945 by Albert Einstein, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the names there, Oppenheimer, and other scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project, which produced the first nuclear weapons. So as far as that goes, yeah, it's not something, but it's something that will fade in a couple days and nobody will really talk about. It's 90 seconds instead of 100 seconds. At the first point, I'm like, 100 seconds. It almost sounds like they just wanted something that looks cool on paper, right? 1 minute and 40 seconds away. But 90 seconds, apparently in that world, if people that follow it, that is a big move up. We're literally at 11:58 and a half. It's 11:58 and a half, people. Get your stuff together. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds, metaphorically, to get your ducks in a minute and a half row. And then Finland floats solo NATO entry after Erdogan rejects Sweden. Dex, they have heard my opinion. If you want my opinion on this, go over to Marfoogle News and watch that video. Why don't you give your side of the story on Finland floats solo NATO entry after Erdogan rejects Sweden?
Well, yeah. So Erdogan is kind of not happy, to say the least, with what's going on with Sweden, and it's over religious issues and something that they had did and said. So he's basically blocking it. Well, they were coming in as a joint package, like, hey, we're both coming in. We both want to join NATO. We both want the protection. And now that somebody looks like they're got a black eye on them, Finland's saying, hey, maybe we don't want to be with them. We just want to come in on our own because we want in badly. That's at least the message that's coming out. Now, here's the flip side. If Sweden and Finland aren't allowed in and Erdogan is holding them out, does he get booted? That's the real question. But what would happen if Turkey was no longer part of NATO. And would they exchange Turkey? In other words, would they boot Erdogan out to gain Finland and Sweden? That's the real question. I think we'd have to watch how this plays out. Certainly, the middle ground is letting Finland in and not letting Sweden in. Now, on one hand, that's still strategically good because Finland is bordered right against Russia, so where Sweden is on the other side of Finland, even though still very close. So that would make sense from NATO's point of view, I would think.
Yeah, as far as Finland joining, why not the Swedes? They're so nice. They're Swedes. They're very Swede people. By the way, thank you. I missed, I believe, earlier, Open Truth Ministry. Thank you so much. Says there is no escape for what is coming upon the whole world, no amount of investment or exchange before this can change the level of danger for anyone outside of Christ. An avalanche of sorrow, repent. Open Truth Ministry, it's nice to see you here tonight again, and thank you for the support. And again, in the shoutro, I'll give you a response to that as well. No different in crypto to a bank account, all 1 and 0, and then convert to fiat currency. All still a scam. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. God bless. Be Real Beast, I actually saw that several times when we were talking about the crypto, is if you don't hold it physically, you don't own it, which many live by that. Riverside Homestead Life. I know my stepdad did. He literally kept gold coins and silver coins and things and actually buried them. Riverside Homestead Life, he believed fiat was an absolute scam before he died 25, 30 years ago. Marianne Spinelli, stay alert and be prepared. Marianne Spinelli, that is the best advice we've heard tonight. Riverside, again, thank you so much, and I'm hoping that I hope you're doing well, and I hope you are creating and doing awesome things as well. Okay, and then, so this, Aliyah made a really great point on Twitter, said, why only warning Australia? I kind of think this is something that he's going to say at every speech from now on, but it's going to be more of a tour type of thing. Like, he's going to warn everybody. But it does bear a question, like, why did he specifically tell Australia to brace itself for the next demic, which could be a man-made and far more lethal than the CV? So we have all of the richest people in the world telling us something bad's about to happen. Soros is saying that there's going to be a recession like no one's ever seen. You have Elon Musk saying that we need to get off planet. You have Gates telling us that there's going to be another CV. Dex, I'm probably missing some. To be honest, we have had almost every of the most elite top 10 people say something scary is coming. And people are like, but it's still going to be good, right? Still going to be okay. If you want more of my opinion on this, go over to Marfoogle News to the main channel and watch my side of it and share it out. Dex, this is terrifying.
I don't care who he's talking to, if it's Australia or our country or a whole bunch of, elites sitting around at a TED Talk or something else, right? It doesn't matter. When he speaks, it's sort of one of those things you got to pay attention to it. And given the track record and given the area of expertise in which he works in, and I'm not saying this because I'm giving him any credit or giving him any praise at all. Please don't take it that way. But he has foreshadowed a lot of things in a bad way, I think, and that should be taken with some gravity when you think about this. This is a big deal. If he's making these kinds of statements, it's not just because he's pontificating. It's, he's in the know especially if there's something going on at a level in which we think some of these things are potentially either planned out or at least created by man, but then mishapped, whatever that may be. And when I see this kind of story and I read about this, this is the kind of thing that gets me a little more worried than some of the other stuff we talk about. This is definitely one of those areas that I kind of take some concern about. We saw that event back in 19 that was the foreshadow to what actually happened going into 20. We've seen another event this year that sort of foreshadows what they expect to see coming. And now we've got a reiteration of that, what we're seeing right now, talking to people in Australia. And he's not just there saying, oh, it's only Australia. He just happens to be there talking to them. So that's sort of, and he's reiterating this position. It's something we have to think about. And I put this one a little higher on the level of, take seriously, not because I think he's a great person, but because I think he tends to foreshadow some of these events that we've seen. And it's kind of scary for whatever that's worth. And I'm not saying it to everybody needs to go panic and be scared. I definitely take him with a lot less salt and a lot more seriousness when I hear this kind of stuff spewing from his mouth.
The salt is in the other room. This dude knows, and you know probably why he knows. He is creepy. But all jokes aside, people get ready, as we told you in 2019. And then, of course, NYSE glitch list leads to busted trades, prompts investigation. So at the same time, everybody's hoarding gold. Central banks grabbing more gold than anything. You have a huge, huge thing where the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, actually had to stop because it appeared that a large number of stocks were moving, abnormally large. A glitch at the New York Stock Exchange prevented the opening auctions for a slew of stocks on Tuesday, prompting widespread trading halts, confusion over whether orders were being filled at correct prices, and trades in more than 250 securities. Now, this could also be a hack from Vlad. It could be all sorts of things. It could be, it said the NYSE, which is owned by Intercontinental Exchange, INC, said a system issue prevented the opening auctions in a subset of listed securities. The stocks began trading without an opening print, causing erroneous prices that the exchange said will be declared null and void. It says the glitch, the most recent in a series since the flash crash of 2010, impacted stocks of major companies including ExxonMobil, Verizon, McDonald's Corp., Wells Fargo, and Walmart. The companies did not immediately respond. It says what appears to have happened is a technical glitch. Hold on. What appears to have happened is a technical glitch where all of my opening orders on the NYSE auto-canceled, even though some of them have not some of them should have been fulfilled. It says they have corrected that up until now. It is a big mess to have been cleaned up. It says the exact cost of the fallout is yet to be known. It says that obviously there was a lot of stocks that had been known. Now, wait a second. Dex, this is weird. Okay, is it later on in here? Did this get changed?
No, it's different. It's a more updated version of
wait.
events that happened.
They edited that there was a huge number of abnormally large movements of stocks. Did you notice that? If you go to my Marfoogle News video, it said that they saw abnormally large amounts of stocks being moved. Okay.
Right. So there's talking about the movement of them. So what happened is, and what was reported over on news, was a little less updated than this as far as the current, what had happened, but what had happened, it's all the same. There's a quote unquote technical glitch, and that glitch caused somebody when they went to buy a stock. For example, I'm looking at Walmart right now. It's $143. Let's say you went to buy it and it showed up as $99. You're like, oh yeah, great deal. Sell me that. you're going to buy it because it's, significantly less than it was supposed to be bought. So everybody starts buying. All of a sudden, the stock starts going crazy. In other words, it's moving, either moving up or moving down, depending on whatever was happening with these numbers that were off. So when a stock moves at a great rate, when something is happening, like all of a sudden a stock is just escalating, 5, 10, 15, 20%, it starts going up dramatically like that. They put in these brakes. They shut down the trading of it. They halt it, is the technical term they use. So they'll halt that stock and say, no one's allowed to buy it because we don't know what's going on, but we need everything to settle down so we can figure out what's happening. Usually it's news, like something happened, like somebody is leaving or something else, somebody's making an acquisition or something like that, and it gets broken in the news and it causes a stock to run. They pause it. They let everybody in the market sort of settle down for 30 minutes or even an hour, and then they start trading it again. Well, all of those halts happened on a bunch of these major stocks because of this technical glitch, meaning that people were buying at these prices that weren't actually accurate. And of course, again, if you saw a $150 stock yesterday, you could buy for 90 today, and you knew it was worth more, and you thought it was a glitch, but you wanted to get in, you would be buying. So those are all the transactions that are going to go away. None of that matters. Like, set all that aside. They'll figure it out. The people that bought a great deal or bought a bad deal, it all get rejected, refunded, replaced, et cetera. That's the mess they got to clean up. The real problem here is, what is the technical glitch? Is it really going to be some guy who uploaded a file to the wrong system with a typo in it and also uploaded it to the backup system, and that's why the FAA went down? Is it going to be the same thing, or are we actually going to get some truth about this? And are these technical glitches we keep seeing over and over again going to actually be told to us what they potentially probably are, which might be something greater than that along the cyber realm? And if we're seeing, if this is a cyber event, if this is somebody's ability to get into just the New York Stock Exchange and wreak that kind of havoc in just a few minutes, imagine what it would be at a greater level. And I go back to what they told us at WEF. I go back to what Klaus said and others. We need to be prepared for this major coming catastrophic cyber event that will cripple the world. And it will happen within the next 2 years. That's what they're predicting. And all of these little quote unquote technical glitches, I think, are sort of the either the test runs or they are attempts at doing some of these cyber events, and they're sort of being covered up, or at least not exposed for what they really are. That's just my opinion. There's no fact behind that because they're not telling us anything. All they're going to tell us is it's a technical glitch.
And some great comments here. Someone said that JP Morgan crashed the stock in the same way, something like that. I don't know what they're referencing, but also somebody else commented that GameStop was the test, right? I don't know if that relates, because I know GameStop was one where they artificially did something to, they halted that because that was like something with Reddit where they were all pumping people to buy, or I don't know how you would explain that either. But then somebody said that this is technically planned. Someone said it's not edited, or it's not updated. It was edited. Yeah, it just seems funny to me that they left that out. Let's see here. Errol Drone of Better View says it was the value of the U.S. dollar dropping. They had to hold and put money into it, make the value go up to make it seem like something else. Glitches may only be an exploit to inject a payload that will reveal itself later. Could be, but if these are the kind of cyber events that we should expect, this is tiny in comparison to what they're saying is likely. When they say catastrophic, they're not saying it lightly. Remember, in any catastrophic thing, these people have the money to. They're the ultimate preppers, by the way. The very richest people in the world, guess who's the biggest preppers? They are, because they have contingency plans for everything. They're so rich, they have a whole department underneath them that figures out if something happens, how will they take care of it for me, right? They have their mansions, they have their bunkers, they have all of their rockets, they have all of their stuff. But also, if everything went down, they have a grid. They have their own grid. Almost all of the people we're talking about are mentioning Gates and all these people. Gates has a bunker under every one of his houses. Think about it. They're not going to be affected if something of this happens, and they will have their tennis courts and basketball courts underground that they'll be having fun having champagne for 150 years. I mean, come on. It's us that's going to suffer. And if they need to wait out a couple years while things settle, that's fine. They look long term. When all of the dust settles, they'll be in more control and have more power and more money. Because it's less about money, it's more about power. If you really think about it, money buys power. They want power. They don't just want money. They want the things that money buys, which most of it is power. And thank you for a very great explanation of that, Dex. And again, lots of things to come. I hope everybody is subscribed. If you're watching this and not subscribed, are you nuts after a show like tonight? Thank you, everybody over on DLive, Kimbria, Beer Juice, Big Fish, Release the Quacken, Spartan O Negative, and Vicky K did her nightly stop by. Said, sorry I'm late. No problem. Well, thank you, B, Marky B. And Amen Marf says stealth mode. Joseph Yanni, control. Yes. Pass law to keep in control of the government. Kerp Keeper, keep praying for you. Thank you, Jessica. Lifeboat, hey, nice to see you. And if you guys haven't checked out Wages World, Leah, and all of the other mods down there, make sure to go check out their channels. Along with Lifeboat is over on the Friends page. They help with anybody who is struggling with addiction. They, of course, have a great channel, and they talk about all sorts of really awesome subjects. So make sure to go subscribe to those guys as well. Wages from Wages World actually co-hosts with Tommy, the Lifeboat founder. So make sure to go check them out. They're awesome. All right, and then Dex, let's go over the web only. There's a lot to go through.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you some more updates. So sit tight. Head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here, the webpage with all of the news we just covered, and then you get to the rest of the story. So let's talk about the rest of the story. Everything else that we couldn't cover doesn't fit in the show, or some extra sensitive stuff. It's all there. So apparently, Elon is now also being sued by a company that is owned by King Charles. So he's got a big real estate firm, and apparently his Twitter acquisition is not paying rent. So now the firm that King Charles owns is suing him. So Elon's being sued by the king. Imagine that. There's a headline for you. How long could you go without your phone? That's an interesting story. So I'll go ahead and break that one to you. The average is about 5 hours, they say. If you want to know more about that story, it's super short as far as time. I would have thought people could last a little bit longer than that, but it's not very long. More updates on ChatGPT. Another. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, wow. Must be an echo. I apologize. I thought you were speaking. The whole chat GPT thing seems to keep taking away more and more jobs. And here's another example of, it's very similar to what we were talking about. This is a person who wrote articles for marketers and was found out they were doing hours worth of work in a matter of seconds. So this kind of stuff is just going to keep happening with AI. It's not just ChatGPT. It's going to be AI in general. We keep talking about it. So there's more updates on that. The whole T-Man saga continues. Kind of a interesting thing going on with a Philadelphia mob boss that's in there. Pence is in there again. This time he's got some documents that were found. They're waiting to hear from the Georgia grand jury and what's happening there. That could be coming out any moment. So we're sort of waiting to see if anything will really come from it. I doubt it. We'll find out more soon. That's all covered there, including some additional political stuff. It's all in there. So if you're looking for that, it's there. More updates on Elon. He's in the middle of his own trial. If you remember back when he tweeted, I want to take Tesla private, and he said he secured at a 420 price, and everybody thought he was joking because of 420 being the number for marijuana, etc. So he was having to justify that in trial. If you want the details of what's going on there, that's all in there. Of course, some more backlash with the chat app that we were talking about that lets you talk to historical figures, specifically talking to a major figure that people just don't like at all in the world, and I understand why. I'm not even going to say his name. Speaking of Australia, they're trying to throw or ban Ye or Kanye, whatever name you want to call him, completely. So that would be interesting to see if that happens. And then some other updates on the financial side, even a crypto update in there, and more. So if you're looking for the rest of the story, it's here. everything else we couldn't cover. Don't miss it. Just go to the website. You can get the headlines there. You can click through and read what's going on. Remember some of the videos we showed you early on, any of those images we talked about, all of that stuff's available on the website. Just go there. There's a link. You can follow along, or you can check it out after the fact. MarfoogleNews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the description on YouTube and Rumble and look for the show notes link. It's right there. It's easy to get to. It'll take you to this page that corresponds to this show.
And that's not good news for as far as there are so many people that basically, go by what Warren Buffett says. He's like prophetic in the financial world to some. He's saying that crypto will come to a very bad ending, but he's never been a big supporter of it in the first place. So make sure to go check that out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the mods who have done an amazing job tonight. Thank you for keeping it positive. Thank you for the chat, keeping it positive and pushing other people up instead of down. We don't need that. Again, thank you. I appreciate you. Ilea, thank you for modding. CJ Blaze was here tonight. Make sure to check her out on marfooglenews.com/friends. And again, thank you. Marianne Spinelli, Riverside Homestead Life, Be Real Beast, Lola Cafe, Andy Mack, Baby Yoda, Open Truth Ministry, and everybody else that supported, including Nana of Montana over on Marfoogle News. Thank you. Meepa 007, thank you. Shout out to the mods. Hey, thank you for doing that. And then Craig Alicious from Australia says, this harbor used to be full of Russian subs. Now there's only 4. Bart Simpson. Yeah, awesome quote. And then again, stay alert and prepared. Marianne Spinelli, great quote. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Be safe and be prepared. Marv out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Up and thanks for the block. Well, now let's all take a walk with Riverside Homestead Life and Be Real Boston Wood with the Lola Cafe and Andy Mock. Hey, Baby Yoda and Mr. Spock, of feathers and the flowers and Bible talk. A grace for you too and Mr. I said Hawk Davison and the Kimberly Moon. Overcoming bipolar Jesus too. Unknown and the true business. Blue Boy 1968 up in this. Roxy Olameta says, how do you remember the names? Well, you say them enough. Andy Martinez, Warren G, Jessica Kidd, Bobby Sue Fry, Hagudia Z, Big Fish, Black Sheep, thank you. Carol McLean, thank you for your support. Willie Hunt, thank you. I appreciate you. Everyone wants to go to heaven when they die, but then not worship the one man who gave his life. I was on the west one, I'm on the pink one, I'm on the back, no down. I've got the wheelie on the way, no it be PK on me. I said a Marvin fun time, a dead monkey. I know it black sheep or the V. I know the weed that truth I is a black sheep. I know this justice. Exclusive tint and a party telling Sydney, everyone is failing to see the things that will come.